It's actually England's oldest breed of horse. Currently, they're considered critically rare because there's only 500 purebreds in the world, with less than 200 in North America. Let's see. Oh, no, sorry. They were first called Chapman horses because they carried the goods of traveling salesmen in England, which were called Chapman. So they are a cart horse. The Cleveland Bay name came about because of bay color and then the Cleveland area. With their natural strength, activity, and endurance, they are well suited to pull the heavy vehicles. They gained and lost popularity with the use of coaches. So when the railway came about, they were near extinction, and that was 1880s, because people were using the railway and not horses. They were also a popular improver to other breeds. European warm bloods have a lot of Cleveland Bay in their ancestry, most notably the Oldenburg. They used Cleveland Bay stallions extensively in the 1860s, and they have survived throughout the years, but they are critically rare. As I said before, they're cart horses used to plow, take hunting, go to church, pull carts, and they were artillery horses in World War I. Let's see, they make ideal heavyweight hunters, but they also possess necessary quickness, which is good with eventing. And they are sound with stamina and good temperament, so they also make excellent police horses.
Okay. The population and location of them is a really an interesting aspect of the breed, because they are considered by the Rare Breed Survival Trust, which is the British organization, and the American Livestock Breeds Conservancy to be at critical limits for extinction. Because, I mean, how many other extinct horse breeds do you know? You know, there are 2,000 there were 2,000 stallions and mares registered in 1885. But they became less popular as the world became more mechanized, and also they were used predominantly in warfare, and they were heavily used in Europe. So during World War I and II, I think I have down a statistic 48,000 horses died per month in both world wars, on average. So the breed really declined a lot then too. And so now we only have 135 purebred Cleveland Bays in the U.S. and Canada, but there are approximately 500 of them worldwide, and they're also in New Zealand, Australia, and Pakistan. Okay, so just kind of to give you a general overview of breed standards. They're usually between 16 and 16.2 hands, but if they are too tall or too short and they don't fit within that range, but they happen to fulfill the other requirements, then they're not going to be excluded from registration if they don't meet high requirements. They typically have a wide and deep body. Their backs are not long. They have muscular loins, deep sloping shoulders, level, long and oval quarters, and a well-springing tail. They have well-closed knees and hocks, and their flat bone, or cannon bone, usually measures 9 inches, measured from the narrowest point. They have sloping pasterns, and they don't have any feathering, which, I don't know, I think is kind of funny because cart horses we usually associate with draft breeds, and we don't, lots of draft breeds have feathering. Okay, they're bay, obviously. They typically have black legs and mane and tail, but they can have red or bay legs, but that's just considered a fault, and it won't exclude them from being considered registerable. There can be flecks of gray, and any white besides small stars is considered outside of breed standards. But in 2005, or before 2005, horses that had more white couldn't be registered, but now they can. I don't really know what the reasoning was behind that, but they can, yay. And they also have blue feet. And I tried to find a reason why they have blue feet, and no one seems to know. So, unless you know something I don't know. Anyway, okay. And their movement They have freely moving shoulders. They're supposed to sufficiently flex their knees and hocks, but they do not have characteristically high action. They're supposed to be more efficient than anything else, so they weren't bred to be flashy. But because they had such like heavy use in like for military purposes, apparently the trot is the most important gait in a war horse. So the trot, like there's the most emphasis on the trot when they're evaluating their movement.
It's really hard to find ideal candidates and top winners because there are so few of them and they're not in the public eye as much. Two of the most famous Cleveland Bays were two mares, actually, and they were most famous because when show jumping first became a big thing, they were two of the winningest horses, Star and Fanny Drape. And Fanny Drape managed to jump 6 feet with a rider on her back, and she jumped 7.5 feet in hand. And she broke her back trying to jump higher because they're so dedicated and they want to please and they're very, they're very good performers. One of the current ideals and the best horses in the breed is a stallion named Tragoid Journeyman. He is a hunter. He's a jumper. He's won in hand and halter classes. He was actually the picture on the first slide too. He's the stallion in Cleveland Bays.
There's only 135 of them.
So he's the American stallion, at least let's put it that way. But he wasn't original. And they're very good because of their ground covering trot in endurance things. So they're ideal. They're becoming ideal candidates in jumping and the 3-day eventing and things because they look really nice when they go because they're fancy-ish from the card days, and they've got powerful muscles in their hind end for jumping and things.
Okay, influence is on the ideal Cleveland Bay. You've heard this, but the Cleveland Bays were bred to pull carts. And like the Chapman's horse, it was where roads weren't present most of the time because they had just started building roads, but there were a lot of places where there weren't any. In the 1700s, they were infused with thoroughbred blood, and that's when they began being bred for stamina and to be more sure-footed, so they could be used as sport horses too. Nowadays, they're bred for similar things. They're normally still bred for agriculture and coaching, and sometimes they do other stuff like eventing. According to the Cleveland Bay Society, there are certain things that make up the ideal Cleveland Bay, and we kind of already listed them. They should have a long neck just for balance and strength. Yeah, I think we went through that. Shallow and narrow feet are undesirable just because they want them to be smooth and free, and shallow and narrow feet make it choppier. No high knee action because, again, that hinders the smooth movement. Those are our references.
Good.